This guy did something shocking and unbelievable. He slept with his own mother's dead body. I kid you not. One night at 2 a.m., he went to the cemetery where his mother was buried and dug up her grave to do the unthinkable. I'm sure this is the first time you've heard this, and you might be thinking, is he insane? Was he possessed? Or could there be some hidden reason behind this disturbing action? This story will answer your questions and might surprise you because, in today's world, many people are lured into the same trap. This is his story.
Mimi naitwa Adam Ramadhani, lakini kwa jina ninalofahamu.
My name is Ramadan, but everyone calls me Mifano. I am 28 years old. I am single and have never been in a relationship. I completed grade 7 in school. I wanted to study more, but I couldn't because my family was poor. Both of my parents have passed away. There are 2 kids in our family, and I am the younger one. I have always wanted to be an artist. I liked watching actors and singers and wanted to be like them or even better than them. When he was a child, he really liked getting attention and was thirsty for being famous. His friends and others often told him he was very talented and should work hard to grow his talent and become rich. This made him very determined to do whatever it took to become someone special.
Ndipo alinielekeza kuna bosi mmoja alikuwa anakujaga pale kijijini.
I decided it was time to take action. So I went to meet a wealthy man I had often seen around town. Some people helped me get in touch with him. They called him and told him a talented guy wanted to speak with him. The rich man agreed to meet and talk with me. On the day we met, he said he would help me with my dream, but there would be a cost. When he said this, I felt scared. I asked him what he wanted me to do. He replied, "It's easy, but you need to be brave." His words frightened me, but I said I would try. As a young man eager for wealth, he believed he was close to achieving his biggest dream. However, he still didn't fully understand why he was told he needed to be brave.
Tulitoka pale, tukaenda kijijini kabisa yani kule ndani.
I remember we left and went far into the countryside. We came to a small hut, and he said this was where he got rich. He told me to go inside. I believed him, and we found an old woman inside. The man said she was the boss, but she was actually a witch. As soon as I saw her, she said, "I know why you're here." I was really scared, especially when she knew my name, Mifano, without me telling her. I was afraid. The woman said I could become rich or famous. Since I was already there, I listened to her. She told me that to get what I wanted, I had to sleep with my mother. But my mother had died 2 weeks ago. I asked how that was possible. She said I should dig up my mother's body and do what I have to do. Hearing this, I was terrified. I decided to leave the house right away and ran away. Everyone would find this story scary and hard to believe. Ramadan came out and saw that the man he came with had left. He ran away quickly, but he was confused about where to go. They had come a long way from the town, and the house was in the middle of a forest.
Mfano wa poli, yani niko kama polini yani.
While I was running fast, I suddenly realized I was lost in the middle of the forest. I kept running. After a bit, I was lucky to see a man on a motorcycle. I asked him for help to go to a place with more people. But after a short distance, he asked for money and I didn't have any. He started to attack me and tore my shirt. I had to fight him to escape. I was really scared and also very weak because I hadn't eaten anything the whole day. I pushed myself to run faster, but the scariest part was when I found myself back in front of the witch's house. It seemed like he couldn't escape no matter what he tried. Every time he tried to leave, he ended up back where he started, and the more time passed, the more his thoughts changed. I reached a point where I started thinking it was okay to do what the witch asked, even though my mother had died. I thought about how much I wanted to be like famous people, and felt I had to do anything. So I went back to the witch and agreed to do what she wanted. But to be honest, I don't know what powers were using me at that moment. She said I made a good choice and that I would become famous 2 times. She gave me a horn with something inside. It was a small cloth with 7 needles, and she told me to keep it, saying it would be important later. She then told me to find 7 guys to help me dig up my mother's grave at 2 a.m. and then I should sleep with her. I went straight to my friends. Surprisingly, the friends I asked to help were very supportive and acted like what I was doing was normal. Late at night, the young men went to the graveyard. They dug up the grave. Scarily, Ramadan did what the witch told him to do with his mother, and his friends watched quietly and secretly.
Na mamako alikuwa amekaa kaburini kwa muda gani?
My mother had been in the grave for 2 weeks, but her body still seemed fresh when I did this awful thing. I felt like some unknown powers were controlling me. After I finished, we buried her again. It was strange to me that my friends watched it all as if it was normal, and I wondered if some power was controlling them too. They even asked me to introduce them to the witch. I left the graveyard feeling scared and full of regret for what I had done. The next day, I went back to where the witch lived and saw a 15-year-old girl there. I asked her about the witch, but she said the woman I was looking for wasn't there. I didn't ask more questions, like how the girl was related to the witch. Instead, I just went back home. He began to see the consequences of his actions. Ever since he did what he did with his mother's body, he never felt peace. As time went on, he realized more and more that everything was a lie. He didn't have peace, so he decided to leave his village. He hoped this would help him escape his scary thoughts and find peace. He also realized that the wealth he wanted was a lie and that he had been tricked.
Basi nikawa na kila muda kwa kweli siko sawa.
I kept having awful experiences. I couldn't sleep well and had bad dreams. All this happened while my sister, who lived in the same house, knew nothing about it. So I decided to go to Dar es Salaam. It was hard because I traveled in a farm truck by myself, but I needed to do it to try and escape from the things that were scaring me. He thought going to the city would help him escape his past and the bad things he had experienced. But instead of making things better, moving to the city actually made his life even worse than before.
Safari yangu kulikuwa wanabeba mizigo.
When I first got to the city, I started working hard, but I didn't have a place to stay. Finding food was difficult, and sometimes I had to wash dishes for people in exchange for food. One day, while I was on the street, I noticed a woman walking and 2 men following her. They looked like they wanted to hurt her. When I realized they were trying to rob her, I helped her. She was very thankful and asked me to take her to her house. This woman was wealthy. She asked me about my life, and I told her I had nowhere to live. She said she liked me and offered for me to stay with her in her house. My heart felt at ease because it seemed like I had found a new chance in life, but I still felt unsure inside. Ramadan started to live a better life in this house. He found everything he needed there. The woman gave him everything and took good care of him. But even with all these good things, the memories and consequences of what he had done in the past kept following him. They didn't go away and continued to affect him. During my time in that house, I didn't face any problems, but I always wondered about the woman who lived there. I knew very little about her, even though I'd been staying there for days. As time went on, I couldn't shake off the haunting memories. I started seeing my mother's image at night, and I had disturbing dreams now and then. That's when I decided to confide in the woman and share my story. I showed her the small cloth the witch had given me, and she immediately told me that it would help me. But then, I began to hear a voice in my head, warning me that the woman I was living with was the same witch I had encountered before. This fear compelled me to leave her house. He had already sinned, and he did not achieve what he was chasing after. Instead, it made his life more stressful. When he noticed this, he decided to take responsibility for his actions and make a change. He realized that if he didn't, things could get even worse.
Kwa kweli, kuanzia siku ile,
I began to really dislike my life and even thought about ending it. But instead, I made a big and unusual choice. I went to my sister and told her everything I had done. She was very sad and cried a lot, but she became a good support for me. She suggested that I start praying and become closer to God. So I started talking to people who prayed and got rid of the things the witch had given me. Since then, I have found peace, and I no longer hold any judgments in my heart. Choosing to pray made a big difference for him because it helped him when he had negative thoughts that could have made him consider ending his own life.